Here you hear County Company's reports now in session. Honorable Timothy Butler, Commissioner presiding. Being seated.
It is a special day when a county commissioner gets to preside in the courtroom. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. I'm Licking County Commissioner Tim Bubb, and we welcome you to this, what I would call a red letter day, a significant event in the century-and-a-half history of this 1876 Licking County Courthouse. You can feel the history, you can feel the people that came before you here in this room. It takes your breath away. This building and this courtroom were constructed between July of 1876 and 1878, October of 1878, to replace the third courthouse that had burned to the ground. This building was a statement building by the people of Licking County over a century and a half ago, saying that we're here, we're a growing county, we're making things happen, and we have one of the most beautiful courthouses in the state. Sadly, there was great pride and celebration at the time. It was an impressive new landmark, and it also survived an unfortunate tower fire the following year. It was a wooden tower. After reconstruction with a steel tower and a fireproof dome, the building was put back in action over a 3-year period. So really this building, as you see it today, dates to the 1880s. This building, in my view, is a beacon of light. Governor DeWine has said that before. These courthouses and these county seats across Ohio are a beacon of light that sent a message to the rest of the world that Ohio had arrived and that we're a special place. To begin with, I would like to share a short video that brings a little bit of a quick overview of this year-long restoration project. Most of you, probably from this side of the room over, will be able to see the courtroom screen here, or the monitor that will have the video. You'll be able to hear it in the room, but I would say for those of you who might be a little hard for you on this side of the room to see the screen, this video has been out this week on our social media channels, and also it's on YouTube at Licking County West Courtroom, so you can see it anytime you'd like. But I think it gives you a sense of the amount of work over the last year that went in to restore this courtroom to its 19th century luster. So let's see if we can make that happen. This building is iconic. It's one of a handful of beautiful 19th century courthouses around Ohio that, as the governor would say, almost are beacons speaking to the rest of the world about the quality of the community and what we have here.
This project here is probably one of the most satisfying. I don't think anyone imagined what priceless artworks were hidden for so many decades underneath all of this dirt and grime.
There were damaged areas, for example, 3 corbels that were completely gone, so we made new molds, cast new architectural elements. When you're diving into a project of this magnitude, you're going to find surprises.
Our entire staff was blown away. I think the people of Licking County will be in awe.
A big part of what we do is if you can't see what we did, then we did our job well.
These murals tell us a little bit about the sensibilities of people. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. I think there are going to be more discoveries along the way. It's something to behold.
We have lived up to the expectation of our forefathers 150 years ago to take care of the beautiful building that they built. To make a statement about the future of Licking County. That sums it up pretty well. Thanks to Bob Dawson for his work on that. Bob is in the back doing some video today, and we want to get some reaction from some of you on video today as well. But now to officially open this rededication program, we will ask you all to stand. We will have the posting of the colors, the singing of our national anthem, and a special invocation. We are pleased this morning to welcome back to our county courthouse the Junior Air Force ROTC Color Guard from Newark High School. And this team is, we should note this, they are the national champion Color Guard Award winner for the United States. And that's our own kids from Newark High School as a Color Guard. They're guided by their advisor, retired Air Force Master Sergeant Robert Barnett. We're glad to have the kids with us today. The Color Guard includes Evelyn Bowers, Eviana Gavin Smith, Ace Peterson, Emma Ray, Tasha Starkey, and Sophia Wingrove. Ladies and gentlemen, the ROTC and the rival of our nation's flag.
Color Guard attention for arms, carry, colors, forward, march. Mark time, march. Left turn, march. Color guard, halt. Present, colors.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Oh, stay, can you stay? By the concerning night, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight
From the halt, right turn, march. Forward, march.
Please remain standing. I'd like to acknowledge that the anthem was brought to us by Mr. Dustin Hill, the music director of St. Paul's Evangelical Lutheran Church in Newark. Thank you. And now to conclude the opening of our program, an invocation for this special event delivered by Father Peter Claver, the parochial vicar of St. Francis de Sales Church here in Newark. Father?
Fellow Americans, let us pray. Almighty, ever-living God, we gather this morning to dedicate this building, this courthouse, in the mighty power of your hands. May this building be a sanctuary of peace and understanding, where conflicts are resolved with grace and empathy. This historic building bears powerful witness to what our founding fathers had in mind: a better America of order and decency, a place where truth and mercy meet, but most important, a place where justice prevails. May the spirit of justice, as seen in your servant Moses and King Solomon, be present within these walls. May the scales of justice be balanced, and may truth and fairness be the guiding principles in every decision made. And so our prayer today is first a prayer of gratitude. We are thankful we live in a nation where laws govern our nations and interactions. We are thankful for a heritage of freedom tempered with responsibility and mutuality. We are thankful for those engaged in the calling of the law and those who serve this court, in particular the judges, past and present, the staff of this court, and the attorneys who stand at this bar to plead their causes before this bench. We pray that all trials conducted within these walls be fair and just, that truth will prevail, and that justice will be administered with impartiality and mercy. May those who are accused and those who suffer be treated with dignity and respect, and may forgiveness and reconciliation be sought in all matters. May this courthouse be a place where all who enter feel a sense of hope and trust in the legal system, knowing that their rights be protected and that justice will be served in accordance with your will. May peace come in our lifetime, and may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We make our prayer through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
There are some guests that we'd like to recognize this evening, or this afternoon, or this morning, whichever the case may be. Pick one. And we do really appreciate some guests from around the state and some of our elected officials from coming to join us this morning. Taylor Armstrong came representing Senator Bernie Moreno. We appreciate him here. I'd like to recognize Mr. Thaddeus Claggett, the representative of the Ohio House of Representatives from the 68th District of Ohio here in Licking County. Thad, thank you for coming. Mr. Kevin Miller beside him, the representative of Ohio's 69th District here in Licking County, with parts of Perry and Fairfield counties. Representative Miller, thank you for being here. We're joined today by county officials, including our longtime county sheriff, Randy Thorpe. Thank you, Sheriff. He's used to guarding the door. And our county clerk of course, Olivia Parkinson. Three former county commissioners are here. I see Mr. Phil Shipley in the back. Phil, welcome back. Nice to see you. Mr. Brad Feitner is here. Brad, thank you for being here today. And Ms. Marcia Phelps, thank you for being with us today, Marcia. Marcia also retiring this year as the clerk of the municipal court. We thank her for her public service. Two of our county's great city mayors are here. The Mayor of Newark, Mr. Jeff Hall, and the Mayor of Pataskala, Mr. Mike Compton. Also with the Mayor of Newark and the City Auditor of Newark, Mr. Ryan Bubb. Thank you for being here. From the county government, my fellow county commissioners, up here at the attorney table, Mr. Rick Black and Mr. Dwayne Flowers right here. You're not presenting a case today, right? No. Okay. And the county commissioner team, hard at work here today, from our administrator Dave Edelblut to our new deputy clerk Crystal Hamper and her daughter Taylor with us today. And Ken Oswald, Dave Bibler, and Jamie Houston. Jamie new with us. We welcome them all. And also we have two former key staff people with the county who have taken their retirement, but were very instrumental in the restoration of this courthouse and this room back there, Miss Beverly Adzik and Miss Pam Jones. Thank you for gracing us with your presence today. We appreciate it. I'd like to say a special thanks to the Executive Director of the Licking County Historical Society, Mr. Howard Long. He has been an active participant in this restoration, helping to research some of the artifacts in this room and also helping to do in the architectural selection for the building. Howard, we appreciate very much the support that you have offered us in this project. Also from the Association of County Commissioners in Columbus, Ms. Cheryl Subler and Mr. John Lights are here. Thank you for being here as well today. We appreciate that. And we have representation from our judicial community behind me and who will be introduced formally shortly. Ohio Supreme Court Justice Patrick Fisher. Thank you. And justices of the 5th District Court of Appeals, to my right, Justice Craig Baldwin, Andrew King, Robert Montgomery, and David Gormley. Thank you all for being here today. We look forward to having you come back in panels of 3 and joining us in this courtroom. Judges of the Licking County Common Pleas Court, General Division judges behind me, Thomas Marceline and David Brandstuhl. Our Juvenile Probate Division Judge, Deborah Lang. Domestic Relations Division Judges, Richard Wright and Duke Frost. And retired Juvenile Probate Judge, Robert Hoover. In the jury box today. And judges of the Municipal Court of Licking County, Matthew George and David Stansberry, and retired Judge Michael Higgins. Let's have a round of applause for the members of our judicial community. Judge Thomas Marceline has the privilege of holding court in this historic room pretty much every day of every week. And today he offers some thoughts on the historic restoration. From the bench, Judge Marceline.
Thank you, Tim. And welcome to all of you to the West Courtroom of the Licking County Courthouse. Once again, my name's Thomas Marceline, and I, along with Judge Brandstuhl on the other end of the bench, preside over the General Division of the Licking County Common Pleas Court here on the 2nd floor of the County Courthouse. It's been a long process to get to this day. I learned that process by working with Judge Spar, who served here as a Common Pleas Court judge from 1983 to 2010. He would remind the commissioners over all those years that the courtroom needed some work. We had repairs done here as they were needed as a result of water leaks or plaster damage in the courtroom. And this room was always impressive, but it needed cleaned, having had people smoke in it for 100 years. There simply wasn't the money to get that done or to get it done right, and it was not easy to do 75 or 50 years ago, even as it was perhaps today. The process for the renovation of the courthouse really started when the city began separating the stormwater and sanitary sewer here in downtown Newark, around the square. I don't want to steal the commissioner's thunder, if that's possible, and I'll let them tell you about all that. But the court's always been a silent partner, kind of nudging the commissioners about getting the courtroom restored. When in 2015, the court paid for some repairs and a study done by our historical architects about the restoration needed in the courtroom, about what it could be and what it should be. Using that study then, The commissioners found the money to get that accomplished after other parts of the building had been restored in such a way that would guarantee the integrity of this room. This is the commissioner's property, and we thank you for maintaining it for all of those years. One thing the commissioners did before we met today was assure that this building was cleaned, and it is as clean today as it has ever been, ever. I want to thank Kevin Ryan and the whole maintenance and cleaning staff today. Thank you, Kevin, for putting their weekend work in and their hard work and attention to the detail of getting things painted, cleaned, and polished. I also need to thank Damon, Nick, and Kevin from Robertson Construction for all their excellent work and supervision here during the process. I really need to thank Eileen at Conrad Schmidt for all of her work on the colors and the painting here in the courtroom and her concept for what it might look like. The architects from Rogers Kranick for their work from the study through this work, all the painters who put the colors on, who did the work, the plasterers who repaired the walls and recreated the scagliola all through here, and also the tech guys that put in this magnificent sound system, which we didn't have before. I also need to thank my wife and family who are here today, my wife Leslie and my son Dan. I need to thank the staff, the bailiff Dan Hoover at my left, who served as a court's representative on the restoration project, Andrea Gebhardt and Carolyn Ross, Karina Hall, the court reporter, who traveled back and forth with us across the street during our 9-month hiatus while the work was done, Nate Heiser, our staff attorney, magistrate Mallory Land Libby, and her bailiff Paula Spear, as well as all of Judge Brandstow's staff. They all took their share of complaints from me multiple times a day when I whined about being ousted from the courthouse and sent to the basement of the county administration building for 9 months, which really did work pretty well. It was the commissioners did a solid down there, and Bev made sure we had everything we needed, and it was a great setup. We did a lot of jury trials there, but it's a basement. It's not this. Mostly, I need to thank the good people of Licking County who in 1876 decided to build this courthouse with this beautiful courtroom. The description in the Newark Advocate at the time of that first dedication of the courthouse reads, concerning the first open house conducted Saturday, October 19th, 1878, about this courtroom, reads, but the most beautiful feature of the room is its frescoing. The colors are light, the prevailing tints being yellow, green, vermilion, and mauve. There is nothing coarse or glaring, and delicate beauty and perfect harmony of the whole cannot but appeal to the aesthetic tastes of all lovers of art. Isn't that the same description you could make today? This courthouse was created to show that the importance that people placed in the law and the reverence they gave it. You can't help but pause when you come into this courtroom. There is no other courtroom like it. Kudos to the commissioners and to the citizens of Licking County for keeping it and preserving it. So not only is it a tremendous testament to the history of the law and the importance to be placed on justice, but it is actually an excellent working courtroom in which to try cases and conduct work. I'm blessed to have been honored to work here, and I'm thankful for it every day. Thank you.
You notice that Judge Marceline made the reference to gentle nudging of the commissioners. Gentle.
I would say gentle nudging.
Gentle. All right. Thank you, Tom. This is an extensive project that took, it's been executed over a 2-year period, but actual construction took just under a year. We wanted to recognize some of the people who actually did the heavy lifting because they're the ones that actually made it happen. And as your program would indicate, that the first speaker was scheduled to be Mr. Christian Robertson, who many of you know. He and his team are the general contractors for this project. They did a masterful job, and some of his team are in the room. Sadly, Christian's mother just passed away at the age of 97 years. Talked to him last night. He and his family are in the midst of arrangements at this hour. I spoke to him. He sent his deep regrets to all of you many of you who know him, and he's done work for you, and he sends his best to each of you. I know that if you know Christian, you might send him a note of condolences. He did lose his mother, and that hurts. And I know he and his family would appreciate hearing from you if you do know him. But to the Robertson team here today, to Nick and Damon and the people that did the heavy lifting, and it was heavy lifting, thank you. A job well done, and we know it. A salute to the architectural team who masterfully visioned this project and made it happen. To Daryl Rogers and Peter Kranchek and Daniel DeGrieve, where are you all at? Would you stand up and be recognized? These are our architects. They specialize in the kind of incredible detail and restoration that this involved. He did a great job, and we appreciate the relationship very much. Representing Conrad Schmidt Studios, now a group working right across the street over there on the Sullivan Bank Building restoration as well. Eileen Grogan is here. Where are you at, Eileen? Come on up. Come on up. Yeah. And we'd like to have her speak a little bit about Conrad Schmidt, a group out of Wisconsin that we've had a relationship with for a number of years, and they did some of the heavy lifting on this restoration. Eileen, feel free.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner Bum. I was first here in this courtroom nearly 10 years ago when Conrad Schmidt and Rogers Kranak were commissioned to investigate the historic finishes in the room. It looked very different then, with a very dark ceiling, some damaged plaster, and some missing elements. But we came here and we carefully examined the room as it is. We took samples from the walls to identify historic paint colors. We did careful cleaning tests at each of the murals to see if it was even possible to remove some of the dirt and grime off of the paintings that you see here. And what we found was an amazing room, amazing historic artwork that still existed underneath all that dirt and grime, and an incredible place full of potential for restoration. After that examination, we developed a budget and a plan for executing the work. And after many years of hard work and fundraising and organization by the whole team, we were able to come on site and execute the work that you see here. I'm honored to be here today to celebrate those efforts. And I want to thank the commissioners, Judge Marcelane, and the people of Licking County for taking such great care of this historic building and for allowing Conrad Schmidt Studios to be a part of the process. Thank you very much.
And another part of the team that did some of the heavy lifting in terms of the delicate restoration is a group called Parma Conservation. I see Elizabeth Kendall here, and her partner Peter Schoenemann is here. They have come back and traveled back from other projects to be with us here today. They are friends of Licking County. They took this project to heart. It meant a lot to them. You saw Peter in the video a little bit. And we've asked him to come back as our special guest today and ask Peter to make a few remarks about what it's like working up right around the ceiling over your head. Come on up, Peter.
Thank you, Commissioner Bob. Thanks, everyone, for being here. What was it like? It was a pain in the neck most of the time. It was really, really difficult work, to be honest, but probably the most satisfying work that we've come across in 25 years. It's rare that you come across something that is so black that you can't make out the figures. I mean, there are accounts where people thought, they were allegories of good and evil, but they couldn't, they saw figures floating around. They just assumed things that weren't there. But in fact, these murals come from a long tradition dating back to the American Renaissance movement in the United States. And this courthouse building really kicked that off. Some of the best examples of allegorical murals that we've ever come across. And the challenge is, conservators are technicians, so the challenge is aside from the neck craning. We actually did wear neck braces during the whole project just to preserve our necks from getting hurt. But the chemistry that we had to come up with to remove over a century's worth of fossil fuel emissions, coal tar emissions, was really a challenge. And, from a conservation point of view, it was very satisfying to crack that. We call it a code. We crack the code so that we can return the work to what the artist originally had intended. Certain other discoveries were made. The artist herself. We discovered the signature of the artist, which hadn't been known before, and that's very significant because during the American Renaissance, generally male muralists were hired to do the work, and so this is a very significant discovery that a woman was actually hired from Italy, and there's still more research going on behind where she lived and where she had painted these murals. She would have painted them in a studio, most likely, and then installed them at a later time. So I want to thank everyone. Licking County, you have a real gem of courtroom here. Robertson Construction, Conrad Schmidt Studios. We have to thank them profusely for trusting our hand in delivering the original artworks back. And with that, I just say thank you for listening to my diatribe. So thank you very much.
Thank you both for coming back to visit and being part of this today. And finally, three groups who were also instrumental in the project: a company called Continental Floors, our good friends locally at Weekly Electric, and Centennial Preservation Group. This was a complicated project and their contributions were significant. Moving ahead with our program now, I'd like to reintroduce Judge Thomas Marceline and our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Tim. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure today to introduce Justice Patrick F. Fisher. Justice Fisher was first elected to the Ohio Supreme Court in November of 2016 and again in November of 2022. Previously, he had been twice elected to serve as a judge on the First District Court of Appeals. Justice Fisher is a graduate of the Harvard Law School and Harvard College. He has also served as president of the Ohio State Bar Association and was elected as president prior to that of the Cincinnati Bar Association. As an attorney, Justice Fisher served 2 terms on the Ohio Supreme Court's Commission on Professionalism, which is where I met Pat, as I also served on the Professionalism Committee. That's where I got to know him, and I know him as an honest, hardworking, intelligent, and approachable man, not a justice, but simply as Pat. Please welcome Ohio State Supreme Court Justice Patrick Fisher.
Thank you so much, Tom. First of all, when I walked in here the first time was about 12 years ago, was Judge Spar, maybe?
That's right.
Would have been presiding, and over in that corner there was water damage. You could see it building. I'm a history major. This place is great. And you all should be very proud because you have one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful county courthouse in the state of Ohio, and I've been to a lot of them. It is an architectural masterpiece. And maybe it's because of that I think we need a round of applause. I want all the commissioners, current and past, please stand. Please stand. Because what you've done is preserved a beautiful piece of history, and that is so important. Now, I do want to point out some of the paintings and marble around here. First of all, in that corner is the goddess, that's the Roman goddess Justice, Justitia. I know that because her foot is not on a serpent. Themis, the Greek goddess of justice, her foot would be on a serpent. And that is the only difference. So that's the Roman. And she has in her right hand a sword. And that's, well, on one hand, she probably you got the scales of justice, but on the other hand, you have a sword. And that's because to the right, if you look at the U.S. Supreme Court, if you look at our court, I sit on the right of the Chief Justice. And that's because I'm the most senior. And the most senior, Clarence Thomas, sits on to the right of Chief Justice Roberts. And that's because the sword, vengeance of the law for those who don't follow it. And that's how it goes in any courtroom, back and forth. On the right, the most senior, non-justice, non-chief, then to the left, right, left, it keeps going back and forth. And that's because of that sword in her right hand. I also want to point out you've got Magna Carta, I think. Is that the Constitution? Yep. You got 10 Commandments, but I want to focus on Solomon a little bit, right there, on that mural. Because in that case, Solomon was asked what to do about the child, the baby. He said he'll cut it in half. And the real mother said, no, no. And that's how he knew it was the real mother. Don't cut the baby in half. But things haven't changed. Just last month, actually now 2 months ago, because I guess this is May 1, Law Day, Rule of Law Day, we had a case. Everything had been decided in the case. It was a divorce. The property was settled, custody of the adopted child was resolved. Everything was done except there were 14 fertilized embryos at the in vitro facility. And I think the trial judge, I hope they're not here, but they might be, thought they were being Solomon because that trial judge awarded 7 of the embryos to the woman and 7 to the man. It went to the Court of Appeals. Court of Appeals gave all 14 to the woman. It came to us. And to me, that is the very type of case that we should be deciding. We didn't take the case. 5-2 vote. I don't understand why, but it just shows you that since the time of Solomon to the time of today, who controls a child? Who has custody and parental rights of a child, which some of your judges would need to deal with, remains an issue to today, 1,000 years later. And thus, all around here, you got Washington, Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, lawyer, Lafayette, Monroe, is that Monroe? James Monroe, Monroe Doctrine. You got Salmon P. Chase from Cincinnati, anti-slavery leader, eventually was Secretary of the Treasury as a competitor of Lincoln for the nomination. But he was later named Chief Justice. And he wrote some of the opinions enforcing the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, the Civil Rights Amendments to the U.S. Constitution, the first. So I just want to tell you that this room is so important to history. I hope there are some of the history teachers from the high school here, or social studies, or government, because every high schooler in this county should have to come through this courtroom once during high school and have these same issues raised with them, no matter how you feel about them, so that they're issues that they think about. And the law, the rule of law, May 1, I presume that's the reason you chose today, was created by President Eisenhower because he was tired of seeing communists running through Red Square on May 1st. He wanted the rule of law to prevail. I also believe the stained glass and the fresco. The fresco is the same type that's used in the Sistine Chapel, which generally tourists go through, but starting May 7th will become a place of justice again as the cardinals vote on a new papacy. You have all this beauty, all this history, all this learning in this very room, and it's all because of the citizens of this county and their commissioners. I can't thank you enough. We did the same thing in our building. Somebody asked me when I sit back, this chair doesn't lean back all the way, mine does. What are you looking at when you're leaning back, Justice? I'll tell you what, I'm looking up at Indiana, because each of the states of the Northwest Territory are on the ceiling in that room. And when I was a young lawyer, you could not see those paintings, just like you couldn't see them here. I don't know how you all you experts do it, but everybody had smoked in that room for 50 or 100 years, and you couldn't see the ceiling. But they had to take the paintings down, clean them, and now it's such a beautiful courtroom. And it means a lot to the people. And if you've never come, you call my office. Tom has the number. We'll get you a tour. But it's very important. When I was president of the State Bar, I introduced Sandra Day O'Connor, first woman justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, to give a speech in that room. And I was an appellate judge. She leans over, Judge, this may be the most beautiful courtroom in the United States. I said, it is. I've been to yours. So please know that Ohio has a wealth, a treasure of courthouses. The only one more unique than this I saw was, I have a license in Texas, and the jury sat around the judge because they were all the finders of fact and law. So there wasn't, the jury box was with the judge. Other than that, everything, these are just beautiful, and you should be grateful. I'm grateful, I hate to say it, grateful for a fire in 1875, because you really redid the place. Now I'd like to talk about one other thing that's brought me here today. The second part of my speech will be short, but the theme will be intense and deep, especially for all the lawyers out there. For this concept will be of, and is, I believe, of the highest importance to all Americans, especially my fellow lawyers. We attorneys are the only profession that is constitutionally presumed to exist. Yes, Congress may create an Army and Navy under Article 1, but the constitutional words do not mandate the existence of U.S. military forces. And yes, the First Amendment permits religious choice, but does not mandate the existence of priests, ministers, rabbis, imams. That's up to everybody to choose. However, the Sixth Amendment presumes, and in effect mandates, the very existence of attorneys and counselors at law in order to ensure the right to counsel for everyone in this country. The U.S. Constitution presumes the training and power of lawyers. It presumes our very existence. So even before the creation of the United States of America, that Constitution, lawyers would have had to exist on this continent. And so we as lawyers who have the right to stand up at these tables and represent other people in their most difficult times, we owe it back to the people of the United States to do what I'm going to ask. For as lawyers who have been and will actually be the backbone of these United States, and as lawyers who can save this republic. And we lawyers were and are the spine for all of America, for without us lawyers, America as we know it would not exist. In fact, one such lawyer, Thomas Jefferson, with an attorney's choice of words, declared our independence from King George. Another lawyer diplomat led to the creation of a nation through a constitutional convention using a diplomat attorney's ability to resolve differences through the art of compromise. That lawyer's name was James Madison. And a third lawyer, right there, held this country together during the worst of its times, an intense civil war, and in the process freed an entire people from a terrible and degrading bondage. His name was Abraham Lincoln, a lawyer from the state of Illinois. Although I also note he was also born in my home state of Kentucky. Don't forget that. So now in this time of national division so deep that men and women of differing political views will no longer speak or dine with one another, it is incumbent upon us lawyers to lead this nation back from yet another brink of self-destruction to our republic. For the U.S. shall remain a, quote, republic, but only if we keep it, close quote. For we lawyers are the one group of Americans, no, really its only group or profession, expressly and unconditionally trained and instructed on how to be able to argue one side of a dispute and then dine or have a drink with our esteemed opponent immediately following that argument. I recall an argument in a rather complex case when I was a practicing lawyer. It was over a summary judgment motion, and it lasted most of a day. We argued intensely before lunch. I then had lunch with my opponent, and then we went back to the courtroom and continued to intensely argue our own opposite positions. That lawyer's name was Tom Calder, he late of the Dinsmore firm in Cincinnati. And so it falls upon each of us judges and lawyers, as America's attorneys and counselors at law, to reach out and teach our fellow Americans how to do the same. We must undertake the duty to train all Americans on how to disagree without being disagreeable. My favorite sight is after oral argument in our courtroom, there's a long red carpet to the back. You see the lawyers shaking hands. That is the most important moment in that argument. Thus, I call upon every law school, every bar association, and every lawyer of our society so licensed by our myriad of state Supreme Courts to immediately institute and lead this effort to save this nation, the Republic of Jefferson, Madison, and Lincoln, from political self-destruction. We must commit our profession and our very selves as our first priority to showing and epitomizing by example and explanation to all Americans how we can all shake hands after arguments in court. For we respect the opposing orator, no matter what we think about the other speaker's arguments. Let us begin that effort today and without delay. Lawyers in this room, I ask all of you to please contact your bar association courts to begin a joint bench and bar program to train all Americans on how to listen, handle, and properly respond to opposing views. And if you are an attorney, related to a lawyer, or just a friend of one, and you agree with my suggestion, I ask you to please stand up and clap so that the lawyers in the room will know of your desire and take on this effort, and that they not charge you their hourly rate to do so. So please, if you're not a lawyer, you agree. Thank you. Good day. May God bless America, and please never forget the motto of the state of Ohio. With God, all things are possible.
Wow. Thank you, Justice Fisher. Well, now through July 4th of next year, 2026, we're celebrating locally, across Ohio and nationally, the semi-quincentennial of America, our 250th birthday. We're honored to have the chairman of AM 250 for Ohio, Mr. Todd Highsmith. He's a friend of Licking County, and we ask him to come forward and make a remark or two about the big celebration which comes starting this July 4th. Todd?
Thank you, Commissioner Bubb. You know, a part of me wants to be a little grumpy to have to follow Justice Fisher, but instead, thank you for your remarks, Justice Fisher. Instead, I'm very, I'll say extremely inspired to be with you, to be in this room, to be surrounded by history, and for those of you who love and preserve history, are part of it, wow. This is amazing. So glad to be with you, to have been invited today. My name is Todd Kleismith. I do have the high honor of serving as the executive director of what we call America 250 Ohio. Legally, we are the Ohio Commission for the U.S. Semi-Quincentennial, and that's why we're calling ourselves America 250 Ohio. It's exciting to be with you. We are expecting a lot from Licking County. As part of America 250, we're very confident that if there is a county somewhere in Ohio that respects and preserves its history better than Licking County, I might have to ask our friends with the County Commissioners Association. I don't know of another county that really just hits it out of the ballpark at every opportunity. So big congratulations to the commissioners, for the judges, for everyone, all of the gentle nudging that took place to get this done. That is fantastic. So a quick couple of words here. You may not have heard yet about America 250 Ohio. So we are heading up Ohio's participation in this amazing once-in-a-generation opportunity here to help showcase what Ohio and Ohioans have contributed to our nation's history. And we're standing in a place that has made a major contribution to that history. So we're really excited about this opportunity. All 88 counties have passed resolutions raising their hands saying they're going to participate in this opportunity. Huge help from the County Commissioners Association and others to help make sure that Ohio makes the most of this incredible opportunity that we have. And we're not just waiting around for 2026 or for July 4th. Things are underway. We're doing lots of things all around the state of Ohio. You can find out more online later, but boy, we're really enthusiastic about the history, and those of you who are here in Licking County about making the most of this amazing opportunity. And especially I want to congratulate, as Justice Fisher did, the civic leaders here, not just the commissioners, not just the judges, but all of those of you who made an extra effort to make this happen. You know, especially when you think about us living in an era of short attention spans and transactional short-term thinking. And then here comes Licking County, Commissioner Bubb and the team here looking in the long term. You know, you're not often rewarded for short or for long-term thinking. But boy, on this particular day, on Law Day, major congratulations to the county and others. So I mentioned short attention spans. I was reading this just earlier this morning that the average human has an attention span of 8.25 seconds, which is just a little bit shy of a goldfish. So when I see long-term stewardship of public resources like you have here at your Licking County Courthouse, just can't say enough good things about all of you and the leadership that you're providing. Howard Long is leading the effort here at Licking County with America 250. We're very grateful to Howard and the elected leaders here, the judges, Explore Licking County, the Works, the Dallas Arboretum, the Midland Theater. I mean, the list goes on. You have World Heritage Sites right here in Licking County. I mean, it's incredible what we have. We're going to really showcase this during the nation's 250th anniversary. What an amazing thing to be with you here in this room. So, wow, and many congratulations to the county and everyone who contributed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Local pastor and feature writer and historian extraordinaire Jeff Gill is with us today. We asked him to give you just a couple of tidbits on the history of this building that came from his research. And then we're going to do a little introduction and actually have an unveiling on the south wall of two of the newly commissioned pieces of artwork. And I'm asking Jeff to come forward and share with you who we're going to recognize behind the curtains today. Jeff?
To the bench, judges, distinguished guests, this is indeed a very special occasion. And as you all know, if you came into this courthouse from any of its four sides, its history starts in 1876. You've also heard a little bit about how the beginning didn't go smoothly. Fires, reconstruction issues, and Judge Marceline, you talked about process. There's some interesting history here in Licking County, and I encourage any of you who have curiosity about any number of subjects like that to go to the Licking County Archives, which are not very far away, very well managed, and the staff have been very helpful. And there are thick, heavy volumes, and on the spine they say Commissioner's Journal. And in the period I was most interested in, it was all handwritten, which makes for some interesting challenges. But let me try to sum this up by saying, after the courthouse was reconstructed following the fire, this courtroom basically had the same sorts of ceilings we see downstairs on the first floor in those courtrooms. Flat pressed tin panels. It just didn't look like what we see here today at all. And there was a lot of discussion in the commissioner's minutes up through 1903 to do something more with the West Courtroom. But I know the commissioners will be shocked to hear me say finances were tight. But in 1903, it had been about 25 years since they'd gotten themselves under roof, and as any of us who own homes know, after about 25 years, what do roofs start doing? They have issues. And there were leaks, and it gave the commissioners an opportunity. And so on November 9th, 1903, the County Commissioner's Journal records, it was further decided by the committee overseeing the courtrooms to change 6 panels in ceiling of courtroom from steel to plastering. They also contracted with a local firm, Pratt and Montgomery, to furnish wood finishings in courtroom as per specifications. With Pratt and Montgomery and W.J. Harper and Son, work began, but very, very quickly. In fact, March 14th, 1904, there is this resolution. In the matter of remodeling the courtroom, in view of the fact that the building fund is now overdrawn, be it therefore resolved that no new contract be entered into to complete courtroom repairs, and no outstanding contracts to commence unless in the judgment of the commissioners such work is necessary to protect work already done, until funds are available for such work. All 3 commissioners voted yay. Things don't change much, do they? No. However, the commissioners had been, with these round medallion windows, had been purchasing piecemeal, and you can find them in the journal, purchased 1 or 2 at a time from Kyle Art Glass in Springfield, Ohio, the stained glass medallions we see from George Washington around to President Monroe. But what really brings us into the era that we are celebrating here today, in June 26, 1905, they made motion, apparently the funds were in the accounts, to contract with August Roeder of Toledo to do the floors, to finish the woodwork, and a contract was awarded with Bryant Brothers of Columbus, Ohio, to decorate courtroom as per plans and specifications attached to contract, work to be done in full under contract price. Now, I'm looking at our 3 commissioners, and I know exactly what they're thinking, which is, you know they're going to come back and ask for more money at the end of the job, aren't they? And it happened. But Bryant Brothers, without getting into all the fun details I'd love to share with you today, they had a decades-long history, not just in Ohio, but in the Midwest, of decorating churches, cathedrals, mansions, and on very few occasions, but thankfully here in Licking County is one, courtrooms. They themselves didn't do the work, but they found artisans to bring the work in. And so Ludwig Bang, who did the presidential portraits, we see dotted around the room, and the seal, the state of Ohio, over the drinking fountain. And also the two panels behind the bench. A man named John Franklin Douthat. I found 3 different pronunciations of that last name, I'm not sure, but he was out of New York City. And he was a fascinating character in his own right, but he did painted tapestry work, he did murals, and we know he signed both the Ten Commandments and the Solomon murals that we see here. And also the ongoing mystery of Adele Bassi. And whether she was working in New York or, as I suspect, and since I'm more of a storyteller than a historian, I'm just going to tell you, in this time period, her studio appears to be in Florence, Italy, just down the street from the Uffizi Gallery. So it's possible that these murals on our ceiling, Adele Bassi in Florence, Italy, had the dimensions sent to her. She painted them there and had them shipped to be affixed to the ceiling of this courtroom. There are many more details I'd love to get into, but let's just say that when we come down to 1906, well, money has run out again, and the commissioners halt work. And now we know why the 2 vacant panels, which are now the Magna Carta and the Constitution, were left. And I don't know about Dan Hoover, but I know I, on many occasions with school children in this courtroom, pointed to the 2 blank bas-relief panels after having talked about Justice Woods and General Rosecrans, and said, and the county commissioners had the foresight to leave 2 vacant spaces for perhaps one of you someday. I still like that story better, but in fact, they said, funds no longer being available, we will halt. And so they did. But at the very end, Bryant Brothers came to the county commissioners and said, would you pay $200 more for those 2 panels, the last pieces of art put up in this courtroom in February of 1906. And at that point, the work stopped. And then, as you've heard, the work began again 2 years ago, not just to restore, but to fulfill this place of narrative history, this monument to justice and to our community values. And so it was determined, and that means, Dan, you and I can't tell those stories anymore about you might go up on one of those 2 ovals, because we've decided to fill them with 2 more characters out of our history. And I would like to introduce you, before we unveil them, to 2 people who have become good friends. In fact, I just went out to Cedar Hill last week to ask each of them if they were okay with this, and I heard no objections. So let me tell you who you're about to be introduced to under those 2 veils. It was part of the story of Licking County, of America, and of justice here in the West Courtroom. First, William Stanberry, born in Essex County in New Jersey on August 10th in 1788. He died at the age of 84 here in Newark on January 23rd, 1873. He read for the law, as they did it back then in New York City, with Judge Nathaniel Pendleton, his advisor. Judge Pendleton was Alexander Hamilton's second in the famous duel with Aaron Burr in 1804. Stanberry came to Ohio in 1809. He served in the state senate in 1824 and 1825, then was elected in 1827 to the U.S. Congress as a Jacksonian House candidate. He later won re-election as an anti-Jacksonian candidate and served in Congress another term. He switched parties. And then Justice Fisher, this may be an example of what we don't need more of, but what history tells us we want to avoid. In 1832, William Stanbury made accusatory remarks in the House chamber regarding a former congressman and now governor of Tennessee named Sam Houston. He would soon end up in Texas, and that's a whole nother story. But given the accusatory remarks about the potential for graft, Houston, who was himself a big man, both Stanbury and Sam Houston towered over 6 feet. I guess that's tall, right? Houston later met Stanbury on Washington, D.C. street. They began shouting at each other. It turned into a fight, and Houston beat our man Stanbury with his hickory cane. Congressman Stanbury then allegedly attempted to shoot Houston, but his pistol misfired. In a trial before Congress, Houston was found guilty, but thanks to his lawyer, who was Francis Scott Key, the former Tennessee congressman was lightly reprimanded. But for Stanbury's part in the controversy, he was censured by the Speaker of the House for the use of unparliamentary language, which ended his electoral career. And so he came back to Newark to be a lawyer. He focused his skills closer to home, as described in the words of distinguished Licking County jurist and Civil War veteran Colonel Charles Kibler at a 1906 bar association looking back over a half-century earlier. Colonel Kibler says, "When I came here in 1851, the prominent lawyers were," and he lists 5, but William Stanbury is at the top of the list. He goes on to say, "William Stanbury was a man of large body, large mind, great voice, and a very sonorous laugh. He was not a polished man like his half-brother, Henry Stanbury. He was a great admirer of the common law and particularly opposed to statutory law." Kibler says he was the finest conversationalist I ever knew. He was argumentative and disputatious. He delighted upon public questions to take the other side. Oh, I could name names. He came to town from Oakwood, his rustic but palatial home on the far east edge of Newark, about twice a week, stopping at the office of Stanbury and Kibler. I recall one morning when he came in, he saw a modest young man, a student, in the office. Seeing him, he roared out to him, "Well, sir, what are you doing here?" The young man answered, "I am beginning the study of law." The old man, in his loudest voice, said, "Well, sir, why don't you pursue some honest business?" And then came the loud laugh. William Stanbury was the leading defense attorney in Licking County for 64 years. Wouldn't you like to meet William Stanbury? But not across these tables. On the other side, we will soon meet Samuel McFadden Hunter, born in 1838 in Cadiz, just up the road, Harrison County, Ohio, died February 20th, 1907. Judge Samuel Hunter we know of in large part because of a book by his son and fellow jurist, Robbins Hunter, father in turn of Robbins Hunter Jr., whose museum graces Broadway in Granville. But the family roots are found here in Newark, and they go deep into Courthouse Square, or the public square, as it was often called in Newark's first century. Samuel Hunter's son says in the book, "The judge rode a sorrel horse." Many things about the extended Robbins and Hunter families in the east end of Newark, of his father's circuit riding efforts across this county and beyond to establish the rule of law in early Ohio, and about his ties to both this, but even more to the previous courthouse, located here before the fourth one in which we sit. In The Judge Rode a Sorrel Horse, Samuel Hunter's son records, "The old courthouse stood in the center of the public square. This building, erected in 1832, was of Greek Revival design. It was 2 stories high and had 6 stone columns at the east and west fronts, and was in much better taste than the present building, erected after the fire in 1875. The first time I saw that line, I had to reread it twice. Did he just say, in much better taste? Well, hold on until page 62, when he starts describing Judge Samuel Hunter's stern but engaging demeanor and his formal style of dress, beginning with his Prince Albert coat and silk top hat. Robbins Hunter records of his father Samuel, "He was extremely erect and made a very outstanding appearance. He was prominent in the affairs of the town, and when the new courthouse was built in 1876, he made a speech at the laying of the cornerstone. This building is an outstanding example of the hideous architecture of the 70s. It's history. At that time, elevators were unheard of, but apparently would not have been desired anyway. The saving of steps was no part of the scheme of things. People were so fond of stairs in those days that they even went out of their way to work them in, and an elevator would have been considered a useless extravagance." Given that Robbins Hunter Sr. was born in 1880, I'm guessing his views here were inherited from his father, who had some strong aesthetic feelings about this now much beloved building in our county center. But for an adequate summary of Judge Samuel Hunter and his son, Judge Robbins Hunter, I look to their gravestones at Cedar Hill Cemetery. They're close together, but between the two of them and their spouses is that of Robbins Hunter Jr., who is our honoree's grandson. This 3rd generation Hunter gave us the Robbins Hunter Museum in Granville and other bequests to the Licking County Historical Society, not least of which is the row of historic homes we have today on 6th Street. Robbins Hunter Jr.'s marker is identical to that of his father and his grandfather's in simply being a name and 2 dates. But subtly, on the vertical face of this one headstone, close to the ground and easy to miss, are added 4 words: "I loved Licking County." In that inheritance, he speaks for his ancestors, for it is clear Judge Samuel Hunter loved Licking County. With that, shall we meet them both? William Stanberry, Judge Samuel Hunter.
It's an interesting moment. Judge Hunter and Attorney Stanberry have returned to the room, and you saw it. Thanks to our folks at Conrad Schmidt for the excellent work reproducing that art. As a reminder, this afternoon, this entire courthouse, with all 6 of its courtrooms, they're all beautiful rooms, will be open to the public from 1 to 4 p.m. If you know of anyone that would like to come down, they're welcome to come down and tour. Members of the Licking County Bar are going to be acting as tour guides today, and we'll have these nice programs that detail the artwork in the room as well for them to take, and also a couple of souvenirs that we've created that you can receive on the way out, and we'll be giving those to the general public today as well. We would ask those of you who are guests who we recognized a few moments ago, if you'd stick around for a few moments, we're going to take some group pictures here by the bench to mark the occasion. So if you would please just stay a little bit for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, we would appreciate it. And now, to close the program, we'll begin with some words of benediction. Father, would you join us again?
Let us pray. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. May the Lord who made heaven and earth be blessed now and forever. And may the blessings of the Almighty God, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit come down on you and remain with you now and forever, and bless this courthouse. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Very nice. And to conclude our program, we will have a retirement of the colors by our young people, our young folks, our young friends from Newark High School and the Junior ROTC Color Guard. If you'd all stand and remain in place until the colors have been retired.
Mark time, march. Left turn, march. Color guard, halt. Retrieve colors. Ready, post. Present colors. Carry colors. From the halt, right turn, march. Forward, march.
I hope you're all as inspired by today's program as we were. We're adjourned. Thank you for coming today.